Who have I harmed?
Dude, in the intelligence community.
Who have I harmed,
That's
brother?
the problem.
Who have I harmed just having a good time talking about a topic that I like?
Well, you don't know the harm you're doing, but I'm telling you, buddy.
I mean, you supposedly do, so why don't you tell me who I've harmed, Lou? You're just being angry at somebody you don't even know, bro. You're not even mad at me. You're not even mad at me, though, bro. You're really not. You're really not mad at me.
You are endorsing right-wing ideology and conspiracy things.
I've never brought politics into anything.
You are not going to make money on this like you think you are, Keith. I don't give a shit what the engagement is that you're getting. You're not going to make millions.
It's a good thing I've already made millions, so I don't have to really worry about it too much.
I mean, I go on there and I talk about UFOs and I have a lot of fun, brother.
Fuck
I mean, what's the problem with
That's
going talk
not
about
good enough. Evening, lads.
How you doing, guys?
That was awesome.
Do you know what the very hilarious thing about that is? The amount of times that we've spoke about like monetization on YouTube. It's like, don't swear within the first 15 minutes. Like, that's not the fucking intro, Ollie.
I know.
That was the intro and you fucked it.
Yeah,
That's fine.
But YouTube pays peanuts anyway, so who cares? And yeah, I did. I'll be honest with you, I had a little bit of inspiration there from Skyfire. Well, from Keem when he did his little.
But you know what? You know what the best thing was? It was funny, it was artistic, and we didn't involve the periphery of anyone's extended family, businesses, or real lives while we talk and make fun of imaginary bullshit.
Yeah,
there you go.
Which is why you should look forward to the extended cut.
That's a different one.
Matt, my lad.
What's up, guys? What's up?
What's up, man?
Glad to have you, mate. And we've
Pretty
got
good.
We've got Tupa, we've got Red, and we've got Shane.
Yeah, welcome to alt-right conspiracy corner.
There it
is. We're all going to swear allegiance to our alt-right supreme leader now. Everyone is.
Well, this is why I got the blue and red background. So if Lou does join us, we can stick him in the blue corner.
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Interesting.
Oh, how about them Twitter spaces, huh, guys?
Oh, I was dying at that intro. That was hilarious. That was great stuff.
Yes.
Did that.
I was pumped by it, dude.
People don't get how much editing. The intricate, even like when he's doing that and you guys cut it up fast, like that all takes time and you got to hit the beat really there or else it doesn't flow. It's good stuff.
My favorite part was the tongue going into the other tongue.
Yes.
I loved it.
The twerking aliens were definitely good.
Yeah,
I love tongue. We all love tongue.
Whoever thought those twerking aliens is a genius. Whoever did that, that's great. I like that. But yeah, I mean, we were called quite a few names, and I feel like Matt, you took the the brunt of it.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
But you stepped into the hornet's nest, so to speak.
Well, look, I mean, like where do you begin with that? I mean, imagine yourself laying in bed on a Sunday night and you're playing Tears of the Kingdom. You're in your underwear and your wife is laying next to you and you're just listening to a space before you're gonna go to bed. And
That's hot, dude. That's hot.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Right. And you hear a guy that you've heard of a lot of times kind of, rage leave a space. And you stay in that space until it finishes up, maybe 15, 20 minutes. And then you're like, I'm not going to go to bed. I'll open up another space. And you see that same person holding the space. And you say, well, I'll just go in here and listen. What's the big deal? I'm just playing Tears of the Kingdom, chilling out. And then that's what happens to you sometimes. Strays are real. And I definitely caught probably a full mag, probably not one or two. So yeah.
And he likes you as well. So
I wonder. I mean, I think that was the most confusing thing for me about the entire situation. I mean, when I got in there, dude, I mean, listen, when I heard him leave the last space, I realized that he was more angry than he usually gets. We're talking Lou reviews, that is. But it still didn't seem like, it seemed like like he was just going to get off though. You know what I mean? I didn't think he would go into another space and kind of rev it up to 11 or 12 at that point. So when I heard him that way, I initially was like, okay, well, I have to talk to him. Like he's calling me out. I'm just a listener. I have to go say something. But I decided to go up there and just try to understand really what was going on. I mean, I know of the guy. I've had a couple of conversations with him, but I don't know him enough to where I wish any ill will. But I know him just enough to where I wanted to understand, like, okay, maybe I can de-escalate a little bit of this. I mean, that was a mistake on my part.
Good luck on that one.
Right. But I mean, that was where I came at, and I held that the entire time in the conversation was just to kind of see if he would ever match me in demeanor, and that just simply never happened. But when I listened to it back, what I noticed the most, and I'll kind of end my little rant here on this, is I was trying to understand what it was. To me, it sounded like one of two things. He was mad at you guys, and I'm this easier target because I'm a smaller platform, obviously much smaller than anyone even up here. I'm the smallest by far. And either that, or maybe he really just does follow me and watches my stuff, and he was like an upset fan. That's kind of what I felt like. It sounded like you were lashing out at somebody that you just really enjoyed their stuff, and you disagreed with all of a sudden them. So you did something wrong. Does that make sense, guys?
Yeah.
Nice guy, and I think you're trying to spin it with the best light possible.
Yes,
and
I
that's
agree.
what we appreciate about you, because you're a good dude. You got a good heart. You don't want to be a party to any of this crazy ass psychotic nonsense that doesn't just start with one. I mean, this is I don't get on X Spaces. I've been on one that I got invited to, and that's with the Conspiracy Mothership, where we talk about other things other than just UFO, because we've said multiple times it seems to be that UFO X is a little insane and hostile, and we're talking about make believe magical bullshit, and everyone has a different opinion, and you have people acting like your opinion and your words are shifting the cultural dynamic on whether we're going to make it into the nuclear apocalypse or not. It's this self-righteous high horse that's unfucking believable.
Well, historically, the make-believe imaginal bullshit is what got people to argue the most, right?
Exactly.
And be the most at each other's throats.
True. That is the nail on the head. That's the nail on the head, man. Yeah. I feel Terrestrial, Matt, you're just such a nice guy. It was ridiculous. The shit he was saying is ridiculous. And I didn't know how this was going to go until I clicked on oh, I see, Shane and the guys, they're doing a UFO space, like a Twitter space. I'll listen. Oh my God. 10 minutes in, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Are all of these people off their meds? Do they need more meds? Do they need less meds? Did that guy really just talking about finding where someone's kids go to school? Did that guy find out where his wife works because you disagreed about Rush? Now you're going to call someone's parents? And the other shit people are saying, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, you're admitting to a felony, yes. Potential online domestic terrorism,
right.
Identity theft. Did you just admit you tried to hack someone's account? What the fuck is going on?
That's the thing about spaces, though, is it goes hard, bro. And another thing about spaces that I've learned recently is there's only so many people, right? So, yesterday, I hosted a space, and I don't know if you guys have joined my spaces where I've summoned an ancient Sumerian god called Kepthar, and I use my voice changer, and I just literally start telling people like about ancient Sumerian shit, right? And then a guy that was supposed to be a friend of mine opens a space within 30 seconds. And he takes all my viewers about some nonsense. He's like, everyone's safe here. Tell me about your experiences. And I'm like, dude, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you have my phone number. We're friends. What are you doing? And I go in there, and then you get dropped down immediately. Spaces are cutthroat. They're savage. They're nuts.
You got me today from your space. I couldn't speak at all there.
Well, I think a lot of it's an outlet. It's an outlet situation. You know what I mean? It's how you handle your anger and where you're at. I mean, listen, I think Lou, the best thing for him, if he even cared about my opinion, which would be to, well, that's fine. I mean, I don't care about his either, though. I mean, he can have his opinion.
That's good.
I mean, to be honest with you, Shane, I don't even care what he said to me. I don't have an issue with the warhead. I have an issue with the delivery system. The delivery system was ridiculous.
That case where I had Lou up there, and then you joined. He was like, and by the way, Terrestrial over there, fuck that guy. And I was like, what the hell?
We should respect the quality of that fucking impression right there.
I was really like, I was like, what the? I was like, dude, Terrestrial's my bro, dude. Like this dude.
I appreciate you, man. But if you let me finish my thought really quick, brother.
My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. But the thing is, I think that entire interaction with me and Lou in that whole space is a really good bar for people to understand. If you ever wonder where it's at that you need to take a break, when you hit that, that's when you need to take a break. Then the problem is that you can't go from a heightened rage from one space and then instantly start another space at full rage and continue on. The next stop has to be some other outlet for your anger. A good example is Joe Rogan talked about how his favorite MMA fighter of all at that time had lost a fight, and he was furious, dude, fucking furious. He said, I went outside, I went for a run, I came back in, and I said, I'm never going to get that way again. So you have to find that outlet. So the next time you get in those positions, you don't just go in there and just start spewing venom everywhere on people that don't even have anything to do with you. That's the real issue. And if you look at the whole community at large, the entire spaces, look at that space today. That's what's happening. People need to find a better outlet for their anger, or they need to take a break. It's one of those two.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy that people are taking pictures of, and it happened to Lou. People having to their girlfriends, wives, people talking about getting pictures of their kids and trying to get their pets' IDs to get into their accounts. It's like, what are you doing? This is UFOs.
Too many crimes.
Yeah, man. It's not even that. It's just like that's a disassociation from reality. Like that is the equivalent of someone at the Taco Bell in front of you bumping into you, looking at you, not saying excuse me. So you follow them home and burn their house down with them in it. Like, yeah, that's fucking unhinged. It's unhinged.
What your reaction, I think, is the right reaction to this type of behavior. But it was surprising to see it be given so many passes by leaders of the UFO community. I couldn't believe it,
and that's the only reason it's gone so far is because, and I'll say it, Lou Elizondo, in my opinion, actively engages with this. At the very least, engages with the worst people doing it. Jeremy Corbell, I mean, right? Uplifting tweets gets banned for harassment. He gets brought back mysteriously, and the next thing you know, Jeremy Corbell is on his show praising his derogatory memes. Sean Cahill, I don't know if you guys saw, he was just like bragging about hacking into Greenwald and Green Street's routers and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's all this weird stuff that's happening in the community. In my opinion, is only because like the people at the top, at the very least, like allow it. But I think they're a little more involved than that.
Yeah, did you guys watch? So the other night I was chilling in this space, which I do. Because I work a hard job, man. Like I think probably you guys do too.
Your mic's a little rough right now, Shane.
I think
you're rough right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's muffled. Yeah.
Yeah, it was good earlier.
Hold on. Let me speak of some magic. Is it working now?
That didn't work.
No.
It sounds like
this
wrong magic got a little
going
worse.
in the toilet and you're speaking into it.
Yeah.
Hi, man.
No, it's not even that. It's like everyone who, like, we're all into this for nonsense. We have different theories. It's fun. It's a damn hobby. It's a Sunday, right? Like, we're supposed to be relaxing, and you got people during the week, and you know, people get off work, they want to unwind, they want to listen to other people talk about fun things. That's what it's about. And I get that some people have always taken things more seriously than is healthy. That's a very normal thing. People freak out about things. Maybe that's their nature or personality. And like we had originally started the show because of what had happened to Matt, and we wanted to do that. But damn, after listening to that, I mean, granted, there's no white knight that's going to come in and ride on a horse and fix everything. There's no policing. There's none of that kind of shit's not going to happen. But at some point, people have to realize they're
reason the knight had to be white, Dave. You know,
I don't give a shit, man.
Cancel Dave.
Yeah, fucking bring your words down, right? Well, at what point does everyone start acting like adults again?
I think we're starting to see it, honestly. You
Agreed.
know,
not in the last couple of hours.
Fuck, not today.
You know, it sucked. It's been crazy like this for like 5 years. And you guys, I mean, Ollie, you were here for the whole Lou Reviews thing. He wants to whitewash history. He was on your show, like yelling at Josh and Artemis, right, when they were going through this, right?
I think he's been on 3 times or 2.
Yeah, and yelling at Manny 503 when he was going through this stuff and saying like, "Oh no, da da da." So it takes a while for people to recognize, but I think there's been such a pattern by now. And then we do see people like Mike going whistleblower mode, and even uplifting tweets. Right, he apologized to Lou Reviews, which I commend. I'm all about. My whole thing with this whole thing has always been calling out the behavior, and people like UAP Mike or uplifting tweets want to apologize for like including people's families and stuff. I think that should be celebrated. So hopefully it's coming to an end. I'm going to take a little bit of credit here. I think large part by like some of the being annoying about it that me and Tupa have been doing, because it just happened to so many people, and I think people see it now. They know Ashton's not a rapist. You know what I mean? They know Tupa is not. They know Paranormal Chris isn't a rapist. It's just crazy that we're at this point. There's so many people who would be like, they're not a rapist. They're not a rapist.
To be fair, I went out for drinks with Ashton, and I got like 3 hours that are just.
Oh no! Honestly,
he's fucking.
He could drink. I feel like he could probably outdrink me. I don't drink his.
Ashton's a lot of fun, man. He's a fucking cool guy who gets a lot of shit.
He seems
and
like
a lot
a
of
great
names.
guy.
It's meet somebody, right? Like he's just a human being. We went from club to club. I bring my wife. He was there with a date. We went from place to place, like these different bars in Nashville that they have, and just had a delightful evening.
Did you have a martini?
He didn't actually.
Oh,
not that I remember.
I'm hoping to see him.
My memory is foggy of the evening,
and I want a martini with him.
Yeah, he'll do it.
And a Jaeger bomb with Doty. I don't know if you guys heard this. Doty said that he used to love Jaeger bombs back in the day.
The one thing I will jump in and say though is I listened to a lot of spaces for probably a couple months before I even got into them. I mean, I already had my channel started. I was already doing that because I was trying to understand like where are the places that are okay to go here? Where are they not? And I took a long time, and I'm not trying to blow smoke, but I think the interesting part to me is when Keem and Skyfire and everybody kind of came around, you guys did start doing those spaces. Those spaces seemed very neutral. When you guys were doing the news, you were doing that. And that's when I went, oh, okay, this is okay. You guys had invited me to come into a couple of them. I come in there. It felt good. And then when those spaces went away, that's when I feel like this started to pick up again. Everyone started making their own spaces, and there wasn't that neutral zone anymore. And that's where that's where we're at now.
That's good insight, actually. I never thought of it that way because we just went to the YouTube. But yeah, for a while there was a good, nice little, and Lou was coming around, but yeah, it is what it is. I think he's really hurt and bitter by everything. And I don't know if you saw the thing he did yesterday about me and Tupa, but like he needs me and Tupa to be evil so he doesn't feel bad about like his own role in some of this stuff.
Well, everyone else has to be wrong, because if everyone else isn't wrong, he has to come to terms with the fact that he was successful at doing something that he wanted to do, and his own arrogance set it on fire. That's the problem. Yeah. That's why he's so bitter and twisted and angry and shouts at everybody else. And it's probably one of the reasons he likes to have a go at us, because we're just over here like having fun, like talking about crazy stuff. And that probably pisses him off the most, is people that are trying to do what he was doing successfully and enjoying what they're doing. It's fucking crazy.
The bitterness, I think, is right there on the surface too. You know what I mean? It's right there.
You don't have to scratch too far.
Yeah. In this sense, I think like a little self-awareness and like some self-deprecating humor, and just will go so long for someone in Lou's position. You know what I mean? You have to kind of accept like, hey, I was used. Hey, I was manipulated. Hey, I fucked up. I messed up. Hey, like this is like, you know, a little bit, maybe most of it's my own doing. How can I move past it? What can I be doing from now on? Instead, you know, the other route is easier. Just attack everybody else. It's the system that's the problem. It's he wants to paint me as a conspiracy theorist, me and Red as a crazy conspiracy theorist, but I think he's got his own conspiracies in his mind that allow him to continue to take on that position.
This is the thing that irritates me about the UFO side of these things, the UFO community, I should say, is at some point the UFO community has separated itself from conspiracy theorists, and that doesn't make sense in my.
Yeah, I think it's so dumb. People use conspiracy theorists as like a prerogative or a derogatory term around here
while they're talking about aliens from Zeta Reticula.
Yes.
While we're ribbing with Grush, who's saying that there's a conspiracy to cover up everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Lou Elizondo saying everything you've ever been taught is a lie. That's like a pretty big conspiracy, bro.
That's why we launched Conspiracy Mothership, which is an entirely different branded show, because it was clashing a lot with there it is.
Oh, nice.
Everything in there. Yeah, you could talk about anything, right? We can have fun. We can cover different topics. It's whatever, because the UFO community, alien, whatever, man, I genuinely hate using the word community, pushes back in such an ugly, weird way. And that's like, okay. And when we went to conspiracy, talking about cryptids and all these other stuff, I was like, man, I bet we're going to see this. Because normally what I see in smaller communities is, I think someone said it earlier, it's like a reflection of, or maybe they didn't, or they were talking about leadership of the particular, but I see it as like a reflection of culture. Like people are bitter, people are scared, so they get angry, they do weird things. Here's the bitch of the thing. There isn't behavior like this in any of these other topics. It's just UFOs and aliens. Like you can go with the people who think, Bigfoot is a chronic masturbator in the Sierra Mountains. You can go with the people who think he's a transdimensional being. You can go with the ones who thinks he's trying to, roofie women at local bars in Iowa. Whatever. Like, whatever the topic you want to believe, people will be like, yeah. Oh, well, I disagree with that, or this or that. Same thing with conspiracies, government, occult, whatever. People, oh, I disagree, but hey, maybe there's something to it. We can talk about it. In UFO, it's like, oh, you disagree about, I have 10 points that I believe, and 1.5 of them you don't agree with. I'm going to take pictures of your kids and I'm going to put them on Reddit. I'm going to start calling your wife at work. I'm going to what are you doing?
And Greenwald says it wasn't always like this, and he's been around since the 90s. He said this is a very post-2017 addition into this community, which I think is really important to highlight.
Yeah, it does.
It wasn't like this when I started getting involved with Ollie on this channel. I was new to the whole UFO thing. I had my own little podcast and stuff like that, and it wasn't like this. It was much more friendly.
Yeah.
Look, if there was more proof of what the phenomena really was from either side, I would maybe understand 2% more of it. But at the end of the day, dude, no one knows what the phenomena is. Why are we acting like one side knows and the other side doesn't? It's ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you fellas think that it could be by design this, and just an example, Lou, being with Lou for I'd say a short time, but a very effective time.
Lou got Bennerit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And do you think that Lou Elizondo knew exactly what was going to happen with him, and that he would go nuclear? And that's what whoever it is that wants to cover shit up, they need people like Lou Reviews to go nuclear, so that we're concentrating more on the people on the drama and less on the UFOs.
I got to be honest, after listening to that thing for 25 minutes or whatever, the only thing I care about is Lou was mean to Matt because he's actually mad at us in conspiracy, and that's fucking ridiculous. Have the balls to say something to someone else.
Right.
I mean, not to me. You could talk to Alien Addict, who trolls you constantly. I just genuinely ignore your existence. But I don't like that you're being mean to my friends.
Ollie does that all the time. It's awful.
Ollie does that all the time. In fact, anything, Ollie's part of the problem. Real Alien Addicts account.
I'm usually agreeing with it though, because Lou is just always on when it's like, bro, you can't just. He's lied about me so much, for a whole year.
Yeah.
But yeah, to what Ollie was saying though, I think Lou Elizondo definitely engaged and probably still engages with these worst harassers for narrative control. I don't know if the Lou Jimenez thing. I think I don't think he expected it to go that way. But I think he did, he used him, right, for the Green Street thing, right, to ask him if, are you a felon? So stuff like that, But I do think it blew up in his face, Lou Jimenez going kind of nuclear. But it still kind of serves its purpose. Like you said, I think, all this time we spent talking about this BS, not about the phenomenon.
Exactly.
And like Terrestrial Material said, and I've heard multiple people say, like, people are afraid to even enter this conversation, right? People want nothing to do with this conversation. Scientists want nothing. Scientists get harassed by the same group. You know what I mean? Love, hate Kirkpatrick. He's been harassed by this same group often. It seems like with direct coordination with, like, Lou will say something about X person, and then boom, now they're getting hit and targeted and harassed. So I think on that sense, yeah. I mean, and he tells you too, right? Remember the classic clip we always play it on our show? I'm not a UFO guy. I'm not a ufologist. Counterinsurgency, counterintelligence.
Never have been. Never will be.
Never have been. I was sent here to the UFO community to use those skills, and he's created this little incel insurgency that attacks his critics and that people that don't go against the pro narrative. And you even see it with this Sands fellow. Whatever you want to think about him, it's very clear that there's like we're doing disclosure our way, and anybody who's outside of it even a little bit, we're gonna at the very least not mess with you, but at the most like ruin your life until you're not a part of this conversation. And even Lou Reviews was telling Tupa, you should have just gone away, Tupa. Like, he's still got the that hate bug in him. It's very sad.
Let me. Can you guys hear me? Does it sound better?
Yeah, great camera, Shane. Is this a new camera?
Yeah, I just bought this. I actually went to Best Buy and bought this right now. No. The thing about Lou, I love Lou.
Did we send him the invite, by the way? That'd be cool.
I'll send him an invite.
I mean, yeah, send him the invite.
Hell yeah.
I love Lou, but Lou had, a successful channel, and I think he saw behind the scenes of these grifters, and he burned it all down trying to tell people the truth, and he's just Lou now. He's just on the path of just trying to figure out what's going on. And you're gonna, everyone, in my opinion, just abandon the poor guy. But
ironically, not me and Tupa though. That's part of the reason we were attacked. Yeah. He likes to forget that part of his little story, but
he hates you.
I don't know if you guys know. He's always crying about the Big Fun Home 3.
I don't know why he hates you.
Wait, just for the room. He's always crying about the Big Fun Home 3. Tupa was getting calls specifically to not go on that, and Tupa went on it. And
I actually called Tupa yesterday, and I was like, dude, I called him in the past, and I was like, Tupa, don't do it, man. Don't go on don't do it, bro.
No, I always stuck up for Lou. We always stuck up for Lou, and when we became aware of the mechanisms at play that we're talking about right now, shocked and amazed and disgusted at what we were seeing, it became clear we had to look back at what happened to Lou under a new light. And when doing so, you see the same things. You're like, oh, shit. And I think the right thing to do there was to accept what happened, admit your faults, and then apologize to the person, and then keep moving as if, now in a new world that you're out of the ignorance, all right, of it. And that's what Red and I did. Lou never came out of the darkness on that. He never decided to oh, what's happening? What are these guys saying about me? He just kept living in this world where his mission was to cancel, and his mission was to get retribution for what happened to him and always be the smartest guy in the room. That alienated him from people who were trying to help him, and it will continue to do so. So I don't think he was abandoned so much as he thrashed around a bit. When offered help, he did not take it. But I understand the position he's in, because I think you guys are right. It does appear that he was psyoped. The
4
meeting,
or 5 times,
dude, for sure. But I mean, that kind of manipulation, it's very effective, right? If you just take it, if you say the first time this happened was when Lou shows up at his restaurant where he's a waiter at, right? And then now they meet, Lou starts a YouTube channel based on this meeting, goes on to create, his UCR channel that had a frequent guest like Lou. And it was like the main currency of that channel was to have access to these people. And in order to do so, now we're finding out too from multiple other podcasters and whatnot who never got the opportunity to interview Lou, that it had to be under his circumstances. You couldn't ask questions outside the realm. You couldn't do whatever. You basically
and people got harassed, like Josh and Artemis, for even thinking about asking those questions. And it sucks because they make it this fog of war. It's very gray, it's very murky. But after a few years now, you could really see the pattern. But I was a big fan of UCR, right? And watching just that whole show's evolution, right? Especially at the time, and then now looking back at it, it's like, dude, there's some really weird intel ops going on here. And we were all just kind of along for the ride. And I used to look at Elizondo as a super big hero too. So there's a lot of personal sadness and shame even for being such a shill for him at one point.
Mm-hmm. There's also another possibility that Lou got involved with Lou Reviews, and that was the idea, to get whatever message it is, right, regardless of the validity of that message. And at some point, I think probably as Lou grew in confidence with having these guests on, the people he had access to saw the writing on the wall for how Lou was going to react, and they just pulled back from him. So there's a possibility that this isn't essentially an operation. They just realized, oh fuck, what we've done is we've gone into business with a fucking lit firework, and it's time to pull back from it. So what we've got now was always going to happen, because like you say, if it's not Josh and Artemis, it was somebody else. There was always someone else that was the target. The difference was when he was back then, and right before we distrusted like the Lou UFO message, we kind of enjoyed what Lou Reviews was doing, because it was kind of on brand for what we wanted to watch. That's the difference now. He's the same person now that he was then. The difference is now the whole UFO community is his target, rather than just little individual people.
I can see that.
What's happened to is it UFO Jane and Rather Be Squidding? I mean,
they got harassed hard too by the same group that we all know about. Yeah,
right.
UFO Jane pretty bad. She just got back to Twitter. We know that. But yeah, like what happened to his co-host? What happened to those guys? They got lit up. Rather got doxxed, his whole name. You know what I mean? They did everything they could. You know,
they accused him of being a pedophile too. They did find the same name tag. And this is what I say about narrative control.
Their thing they do though. They just accuse you of being a pedophile every single time.
Yeah, all these UFO podcasts were on the same level in 2017. That UFO podcast had 0 subs, 0 views, right? But through this mechanism, now look at us 5 years later. Who are the big names? Who's on the TMZ specials? You know what I mean? All these podcasts interact with Lou Elizondo and these freaking hate group harassers, and they'll never get targeted. They'll never get ran off because people are posting their stuff. You know, and I'm not saying people should, but it's like 5 years later now. It's like there's no UFO Jane, or she just got back. There's no Rather. You know what I mean? Like it's to me, it's clear narrative control, and these tactics go back to like the 40s.
Yes.
Of discrediting people with like, you know, you're a pedo. You know what I mean? Like crazy.
It keeps the space and the topic ostracized. It keeps anyone who could bring clarity and light and maybe a new frame of mind or new information being like, nope. Look at these people. They're insane. I'm like, I'm a family man. I have kids. I have a wife. I have a real life. You know, that's the thing that we share on the show. Like, we have a real life. This is fun. It's great. You meet interesting people all around the world, and we can talk about crazy shit. It's wonderful. Maybe some of it's true. Maybe some of it's not. Maybe there's a possibility of something in between. That's fun, right? It's fun. And then you have these people taking it like they are fundamentalists holding the signs outside. Who's the church? Who's that church you used to protest?
Westboro Baptist Church.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great
online
analogy,
UFO. The UFO community is the Westboro Baptist Church of the conspiracy world. That's why no one wants anything to do with UFOs and aliens, because while it's a cool topic, it's a great conversation. It opens up new topics and discoveries in different lanes. You have these zealots who are somewhat backed and directed by who knows who into doing insane things, and no one wants to deal with that. No one with a real life wants to deal with that, right?
Exactly.
This is a hobby. It's for fun.
So for the room, what is the best method of that? So we have this in our community, right? How do you what is one to do, right? Because a lot of people, one, don't want to deal with it. They don't want to get targeted, so they're afraid to even speak up. It's weird. It's just like a straight up cult dynamic led by freaking intel dudes. But like, how do you make it a community where it's not that, right? Where people are comfortable to come in here and talk and share, and we're able to get more minds on this stuff. It's quite a paradigm, right? It's a predicament, right?
It's dead easy. It's dead easy. We make a community. We do what we're doing now, and we pick very carefully with the people that you allow to come on. We stop giving airtime to people like Lou, because that's all it's going to be is an argument. It's just going to be a screaming match between people. So at that point, you just have to disengage with them, because essentially the people that are shouting and screaming on that space exist to shout and scream on that space, because that's the only thing. Without the drama that channel disappears. It dies.
Again,
it's the only way to do it. It's the only way to treat it.
Yeah, I agree with that 1000%. When Lou Elizondo came on the scene, and I was just starting to hang out with Lee and Ollie, and you guys would bring that up. I told you then, and I still say it now, the best way to deal with him, and anyone going crazy like this, you block them, you never speak of them. You forget them. Honestly, we wouldn't even be having this topic today if they hadn't been picking on poor Matt. He was just trying to be a nice guy. Poor guy was sullen the other day. He wasn't even wearing his hat.
Oh, you what?
Yeah,
man.
bad.
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell? You're just picking on him.
Look. Let me be honest, dude. Like, I think Lou was actually looking for people to come argue the topic with him. But I mean, I've had 2 conversations. I don't have the proof that's going to change his mind. There was no point to go up there and even have that conversation. Honestly, I wouldn't even talk to Lou about the topic anymore. His mind's made up, and I can't change it, and so I would just let it go. I simply went up there to just try to be decent. And look, I don't owe him that, and he doesn't owe me any of that. And I think this is a good point I think I want to make too, is that like a lot of the social media syndrome that happens is that people, because you see them on a camera or you talk to them in a space, you don't realize that you see maybe 2 to 5% of that person, dude. Like, how much do you really think UFOs is my life? How much do you really think you know me from interacting in that area? But your brain tricks you into thinking that that's who you know. You know more than me than you realize. So if you know 2 to 5% of me and you don't know all the other percent, then I'm just a right-wing guy and I'm pushing all this shit and I'm stepping on people's fucking heads and I'm doing all this stuff. And there's just no understanding of on the outside of that couldn't be further from the truth if I took you around my place and let you meet my friends in real life. And let you meet my wife and let you meet my parents and let you meet my family. You're like, oh, wow, this guy has way other parts of his life that I didn't understand. But I took that 2 to 5% and I just fucking tried to crucify him with it. It's crazy,
what, Matt?
Man.
After listening to that explanation, he's right. You right-wing piece of shit. How did
right-wing extremist? I've never gotten the right-wing extremest vibe from Terrestrial Material.
I've never even brought up politics once, dude. Never.
I am the token right-wing extremist on this show.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Fuck it. I just got that title ripped away.
Yeah.
Shane, are you in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine canteen? Like, what? I love this backdrop. This is my favorite.
Yeah. There's a lot of very expensive equipment behind me right now.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it too. I do want to say I can't stick around for the whole show. Honestly, I have to go. My roommate just texted me and said I got to come pick you up because he can't move. He can't move something at his friend's house. It's too big, and I'm a giant guy, so I got to go help him.
Oh, I thought he couldn't move. I was like, holy shit!
I thought, I was like, oh shit! How did he?
He's like, I can't move at all. Use your tractor beam. But anyways, I really like Lou a lot. I think Lou had a great show. I don't know why he attacked Terrestrial for no reason. I was there. I was like, what the hell are you doing? I love Terrestrial. I think he's one of the more level-headed people I've ever talked to in spaces. And let me tell you, in spaces, you don't get a lot of that. But, I don't know. We all go on crusades, I guess. And sometimes they're holy and sometimes they're not. I don't know.
That was good. I like that. That's a cool quote, Shane.
Words, my friend.
That was cool. I'm gonna get that tattooed.
I appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah. I'll see you guys later. Y'all have a good show.
See you, man.
Bye, Shane.
That's quotable right there. That should be on his shirt.
It should. Yeah, that was cool.
That's good. That's a good one.
There's another friend of the channel that he attacked on his show. He attacked Amy, Alien Girl 111.
Yeah.
And what he said about her, I mean, it just to me seemed like he just really wanted to fucking dig the knife in as much as he possibly could with her.
What did he say, Ollie, to give some people some context?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Oh god, he was basically saying you've got a terrible show, this, that, and the other, and it's just the malice behind it. The way he said it was almost like, I want you to cry.
Yeah.
That's how it came across. I can't remember that. I don't want to quote anything that he may have said because I'll probably get it wrong.
Almost sounds like misogyny, which is something
everybody gets a hard on a different way.
Which is something he probably shouted somebody else for. Weird projection.
And she was definitely there for him during all the Lou Elizondo stuff.
She is ridiculously sweet.
She's so nice.
She's such a nice girl. She's such a nice woman.
It's bullshit. Yeah. He has like a mode now, like a gear that he'll get into. and I think he then becomes just everyone's a target in that gear. It's almost like a character. You know what I mean? When
he's probably noticed that when he does that the view numbers pop up because he doesn't actually have any real followers. That he has people that like to watch the angry fat man shout at a camera.
Dude, he's like the Alex Jones of the skeptic UFO Twitter world.
The Alex Jones of being a cunt is what he is.
Yeah, just loud, more angry. But I don't know. I think it's a waste. I think it's a waste of talent if he has any. I think it's just a waste. You know what I mean? Like, I liked that show. I think that like his commitment to doing shows is a talent in of itself.
Yeah.
But like I think that anyone's comedy, anyone's art suffers from negative intentions and negative emotions, and it really works to like I said, become self-aware, allow yourself to make a mistake here and there, especially in public. It goes a long way with your audience too. But
yeah, I find it interesting the direction that this has gone. So I have very, like most of the people you talk about in these spaces, I don't know because I don't follow it. Again, I just kind of ignore it.
We need our own character web for just
it's too much. It's too much. People will fight to get on it.
For sure.
They'll up it. I can get higher in those stats.
Yeah. Like the Twitter circles that come out and everyone's like, oh shit, yeah, look.
Yeah, look at me a ranky now. All they have to do is call that woman a horrible cunt and burn her fucking cat in the alley.
Look at all these feds surrounding me, pretending to be real people. It's like, okay,
I'm winning. Yeah. No, so I was on a show with Lou on Alien Addict when Lou had this huge grievance with Goofon because Goofon had trolled one of Lou's friends or whatever, and it was in a very like taking the piss kind of way, not mean. He was just kind of being an ass, but he was just poking a little fun. And then Lou was so self-righteous on the high horse, and I was like, oh well, hey. I get it. Some people, they stick up for your friends. That's fine. Whatever. And now you look at what he's become, and you look over there at Goofon. I was like, Jesus, he is a reasonable.
well, Dave, let me jump in. I mean, this is a really good point that you're making because I listen when you heard the clip. I think everybody here has of behind the scenes where they were setting up the show, and I think it was on Fessler's show. And Sean Cahill says, "At least we're not on UCR." When you hear that. I understand. I felt for him, dude. If I thought those people at all, Lou Elizondo, Cahill, my friends, that would have ripped my fucking heart out, bro. So I felt for him, and I've said that multiple times in public. But you got to be careful because if you're not careful, we might not be on UCR, but you might get into a space too upset and say somebody's the worst person, the worst person in the conversation in ufology. You might yell that at somebody, scream that at somebody in a listener position in a space like that.
That doesn't seem likely that someone would do that, become unhinged and blame someone who's commenting on imaginary bullshit that they're changing and crashing society because of imagined political beliefs that person may or may not have with zero proof. That wouldn't happen. And
I want to say
it's nuts, man.
I want to say this because I asked him about his UFO sighting. I think a couple of times when we had him on.
Yes.
And he went through his UFO sighting. It was when it was just me and him on doing a show. And he talked about this thing I think it was out in the forest with a load of buddies of his. And then he says, but you know what? It's probably down to memory. And I'm sorry, but if you've had some sort of experience like that, you're gonna know that it's not a fucking balloon with a light on or whatever he thinks it is. So he's either lying and he's been lying all along, and this is his like backtracking. So he can just go, it was just memory. But when he was UCR, that shit happened. That shit happened. I saw a motherfucking big UFO, big yellow UFO. But now he's like going back on that. He's going, it's down to memory because he's got that debunked Mick West mode that he's got. Because that's his, that Lou is your grift. You go on about our grift, that's yours. Your grift.
The difference is he's desperate to be famous, Ollie. He's desperate to be famous. He's either wanted to become famous through acting, and like I'm not one of the guys that would turn around and say, it's a failed acting career or something like that. Even though I probably have said it in a joke.
No, he's been on the motorbike with Hanks.
He's done.
That was cool.
Yeah, he's done some cool shit. Yeah. But the thing is that the UCR thing, that was his thing of being famous. So now that's gone. he's got to try and find another way. I don't actually believe he was ever really interested in the subject. I think he landed himself in a position where he could use that to gain some notoriety. And when that fell apart, he's gone the opposite way. And now he's using the debunking side to gain some sort of notoriety.
I think there's truth in that. I one of the reasons why I didn't like UCR was because I noticed that there was a disinterest level in Jimenez, right? Lou, right? Like he wasn't that interested in it. It was his co-host that seemed way more fascinated and wanted to dive into these other little things. And then the nature of the show was cool because the guest would come on and he'd be there to be able to ask questions. So it was definitely part of the culture. But I agree with you, Lee. I don't think that he had that much interest in it before he realized it could be a vehicle for something. And I frankly see a lot of Hollywood simping in his rants about me and Red, and trying to characterize us as 4chan far-right extremists is a way for him to garner sympathy with the culture that he's ingratiated in, which is the Hollywood casting director culture. Like, he needs roles, and he can't have somebody pull up a thing where, look at what Lou said on this thing. Like, he's always got a bandstand against, whatever publicly, because he's playing it safe. It's I think it's bad.
I think he was hurt though. I think he's just really angry and hurt and needs a hug. That's my whole take on Lou. But yeah, I think
how many hugs?
Yeah, right. I've tried for you, and Terrestrial too. I've heard when you went on his show and you're talking to me like, I feel for you, bro. Like, it's like, but yeah, everyone, like you said too, but everyone who like feels bad for him, you yourself included, you went on Big Fun of 3, like he just like shits on him. Very weird.
But I think it is it's an illustration of how toxic the community is and how effective a lot of these, what seem to be very mature, right? Like very mature, like intelligence operations happening, to turn people on each other, to break people, break down egos, you know what I mean? Lift people up. There's been so many people lifted up only to be given a choice, right? Like, you do this or, it's all gone. And it pops up often. A lot of people who want to talk about this phenomenon want to have their show blow up. They want to have a voice. They want to be that podcast. And a lot of people out of that group assume that the way to do that is through access to important people. And I've witnessed it. I've witnessed people be elevated, who can barely host or talk about a show, you know what I mean? Because they're willing to play ball with the assets. They're willing to play ball with the people who don't want any pushback. They just want to be able to continue to promote what seems to be, and I'm a believer, but what seems to be artificial disclosure process designed and marketed by people who have everything to gain if it goes the way they want. And that's a big deal, I think, because, obviously there's business and weird things, ethical things that are in the mix there. But at the same time, we mentioned like religion a little earlier. This topic is full of potential for someone or fanatics or interested parties to turn this into a cult or a religion or say that these things are God or whatever, right? There's more.
We are trying.
Hey man, give it some time, bro. Like, we're working.
It's
on
inevitable, in my opinion.
We're gonna make it happen.
It is, and imagine, like, I my biggest fear, and I know this is like maybe 0 to 100 or whatever, but my biggest fear about this topic is that we're being set up by people who want to become the high priests of a new pseudo-scientific blend of religion and science, and they're going to be
sponsored, by the way,
dude. And they're going to be the only ones who can communicate purely with the aliens. They're the only ones who can deliver the message. They'll be the only ones who get to touch the technology, because you have to have a genetic code in order to do it and not get blown up. I think that the way the stories that are coming out from the high tower of disclosure are all mystical and all special people. You know what I mean? You could trace it always back to that, and that's why I keep a close eye on the work of Gary Nolan, Kit Green, and everybody else, because they're dealing directly with genetics and blood. And you can't have this topic, right? You can't have it exist with people and not expect people to do what people do, which is elevate, find a leader, follow them, religiously, and then not have to think about things deeply.
That's funny too, but that they paint you as a racist, because that's like some of the most forward-thinking anti-racism in this field. Like, we got to be careful. Everyone's talking about these certain genetic people. Let's not turn this into a cult or some kind of ostracization from society if you have or don't have this gene.
You know what I've heard that again for a while about the people with the right genes, the people with the right connection. it always made me wonder. And this is different from, you know, the people, batshit crazy people, and Lou, which I don't know. I wouldn't say Lou's batshit crazy. I think he's angry.
No. Yeah,
I think he's angry.
Batshit angry.
That's
good. That's a bumper sticker.
We're just coming up with them tonight.
Yeah, that's a bumper sticker right there. Don't cut me off. I'm batshit angry. But it makes me wonder if the people at the top know that the genetic thing is real, but it's not any of them. So how can they spin it? Because the last thing they want to do is start telling people who they really are. And maybe the people who are those genetic people want nothing to fucking do with it. like they can't even get them to play ball. So like, all right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna spin this, right? Half truths. The power is in half truths.
It's and this is gonna, I don't know, we're all from the same generation, right? But this is gonna sound corny, but like, it's very much life imitating art of the X-Men lore. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's
very,
so
and like it's weird. That's like one of the most like strong, effective like cartoons of my generation. I remember watching that all the time. And when I tried to watch it again as an adult, it's all like it's a soap opera. I remember fighting and fighting, and then half the freaking episode is Jean. Like it's just this soap opera of a love triangle.
About Rogue and Storm, man.
Yes, and then
Rogue. Yeah,
dude, Rogue had it figured out.
Yeah.
But then there's all this stuff about like the government trying to come down on like it's definitely racism. It's about civil rights. It's in there, right, in the lore. But it, you know, took this other step to become science fiction, and now we're seeing it happen, told to us by Stanford level scientists and, you know, patent holders and whatnot, who are saying, listen, like human beings are evolving, and you can follow the genetics, and we're very interested in this, and it seems to be that people can see something, a part of reality that is otherwise invisible, and that might contain elements of like non-temporal information, right? You got reports of like what Uri Geller pulling freaking like pins out of empty space that belonged to Edgar Mitchell and stuff. Like these are superpowers, if there ever was any. And you know, it has to be noted that all the information that's been given out to us from like the high tower of disclosure, it definitely sets up. It's a setup for that. I'm not saying that's where it's going to go or that's the intention, but the seeds are planted. Like it's planted.
That makes sense why they're dragging it so much. Because think about it. If you, and I'm going to just use biblical reference because it's easiest for me to do. But if the people that we would assess in the past that were the prophets or whoever of old that had the ability to talk to, if you're Enoch or Ezekiel or whatever, and you can talk to these things, like they manifest and will talk to you. They give a shit about you, not necessarily anyone else. You can't press them into service. There's no prophet you would press into service. It was at your own detriment. Why? Because the dude fire would come from the sky. Why? Because they like talking to him, because he talks to them and you don't. So maybe they do know, and they're like, we can't get the people that we want, and we definitely don't want them to know who they are. But I bet we could spin a half truth of a lie. Hey, let's start getting everyone to take DNA tests. And then we'll merge all the companies into one multinational conglomerate and start doing
like 21andMe kind of thing, right?
23andMe
or 23
and Ancestry are owned by the same parent company. Yeah, along with the individual ones that run all those DNA tests and swabs and the blood clinics getting bought up. Yeah, like you're just like, what's going on? Who's buying that? It's how many different companies that's all owned by two separate investment groups? It's really one separate investment group or one individual. Weird. What the hell are you people looking for?
23andMe always felt at the beginning of an X-Files episode.
Exactly. I definitely took it, dude. I 100% took it. Yeah.
Someone like Nolan has a lot of pull, you know, with a lot of people. Like he's kind of like gilded in that way. And if I wanted to, like, if I put myself in his shoes and I wanted to get funding for a study, I would definitely, you know, go with what I've heard in terms of like I said, those seeds, which is that there's a population growing within the human race, and they are able to see things that seem to be related to the control system of our own reality. And so they're going to be, you know, calling attention to things that we would rather not call attention to. There's a lot of things that we've kept under wraps. You know, there's a lot of things that we've moved and shoved around so that culture doesn't really discover them. And what we have is a group of people who look like they're going to be able to see these, you know, these strings very easily, whether that go with hidden technology or hidden spiritual, you know, discoveries. You know, the fact is that like the CIA has been aware of this for so long. They looked into Itzhak Bentov and the Gateway process. They are, you know, a lot of the people in the CIA and these factions who are into this stuff, they're very much into Edgar Cayce.
Yeah.
And like Rosicrucianism and Rudolf Steiner, and they know for sure, like for them this stuff isn't a mystery. For them it's not confusing. They're like, you know, they're expecting it to go a certain way, and they act surprised, and it's really goofy. But yeah, they know that there's a population growing who can see things differently and possibly communicate with something that could be determined as gods, right? But then like they would be able to monitor these. I would want to monitor them. If you were a leader of the country, like,
I think they are. I think they're actively doing it.
Yep.
I would bet money that they are actively doing exactly that. See, now the show got fun. We got through the bullshit. Now we're in the fun shit. And everyone else who's angry, kiss my ass. Like, come on.
No, they monitor experiencers. Even on Twitter and stuff, we've seen it too. There's certain groups, I don't know if they're cults or something, that are obsessed with people who see the lady, that are obsessed with people who have the RH blood thing.
Yes.
Yeah, blood cell, right? Blood
yeah,
cell.
and people who see apocalyptic visions. Like, if I guarantee you, like if you were to just go and start like make a fake profile and start talking on Spaces, like you'd get like contacted by people if you like said that in a few Spaces. I've heard it from multiple different people. It's really weird.
I'm convinced that the lady is part of a disinformation campaign. Because what they're really looking for is a piece of information that is not the lady. They want someone to say, well, I didn't see the lady, but I saw X. Huh. Oh, well. Everybody else hear that? Cool. Start paying attention. Let's get in his computer. Let's get in his phone. What's going on with that guy? Because that's when secretive information goes out, there's always that rumor of a lie, right? There's always that rumor of, you know, deceit. That way, if they start talking about it and they're like, hey, there's this aspect of what? Well, only 300 people read that particular aspect of this classified that you were read in on. So we know it's one of you, and we're going through them, and we found out that was you. So the same aspects, like, hey, there's this phenomenon going on, but we need people to talk about it. But we have to sort out the bullshit. And we know that there is a copycat phenomenon that deals with people. So we're going to tell this whole story. We're going to aggrandize it. We're going to give him the gates to the kingdom. But we need to push one aspect that when you watch him tell a story is always the strangest part of his story that he never elaborates on, is the lady. It always made me think that they added that. So anyone else who comes along after, they're like, oh, that's copycat phenomenon. Where someone else says, well, you know, I've had all these things happen, but I didn't see that. I saw X. And they're like, oh, well, that must not have been it. Send email. You know what I mean?
That is a good theory, but I've heard a lot of people say the lady. But I do like that theory.
Yeah,
I'm going to come across as an idiot here, but like, what's the lady?
It's this app. Like, so right out front, I'm going to say that the only experience I've ever had is I saw this lady. I saw it. And
did we speak about this, Tupa? That me and you both seen a white lady.
Yeah. And then my classmate saw it, and she's on sightings. She's on site, and like it's a whole thing. So, but Dave, I think you're absolutely right. I just don't know if the lady is that red herring.
It's a for instance,
but it's
right?
I think totally right. And you know the strange elements of sightings I think are the best, right? But the lady essentially, Lee, is an apparition or a type of vision of a female in a flowing kind of gown, and she presents typically like, you know, Caucasian, like blonde sometimes, and sometimes short in stature, like 3 feet tall, 4 feet tall, hovering, and, you know, delivers messages to people with, you know, two people that I know about, like Edgar Cayce. He said that she visited him, you know, as a child, and that they had a conversation about the Bible. And then after that, he was like committed to like reading the Bible like once for every year of his life. And, you know, it was this whole thing. She just disappeared. Chris Bledsoe, he had his experience in 2007. And then some years later in 2012 was visited by the lady. That's after all those years having weird experiences of seeing orbs and different things. But yeah, in 2012, he sees the lady, and she gives him all these different prophecies, like tells him a bunch of shit, essentially saying like I'm Hathor, and like I'm the divine feminine, and like the matriarchy is kind of coming back in this wave, and like she's like the bringer of that or whatever, that like, and so that's that story. But a lot of other people have claimed to see the lady, and I'll give this story. Right when I came out on Twitter, you know, and I was doing stuff, one of the things I did was I got followed by Dana Pasulka pretty early on, and I DM'd her my first DM, and it was a drawing of my experience and asking her like, hey, like, where can I find more information on this? Because I knew she had kind of talked about it here and there, so I thought she'd be able to direct me in the right area. She didn't respond to my DM for like a year, and then she hit me back. She goes, oh, I didn't see this. But in that year, I've been approached by so many people, like Gary Nolan, like, not because I saw the lady, but like it is an interesting connection, you know what I mean? Like, and then I nothing nefarious happened with Silk or anything, but I thought that was an interesting thing, is that like if they are anything, they found that out about me early on. And
how can we get Gary Nolan on the show?
Play a song. Play a song more often.
The song is an absolute banger, dude.
We got him out of the woods on that one. I couldn't believe it.
I haven't heard the song. I don't know
man,
you're gonna love it. I'll tell you that. It resonates with the whole community.
Does it? Maybe we should get it on before we get off.
It's so good.
But no,
good.
like I've had interesting experiences myself, but I mostly keep them to myself just because. But yeah, no, I think that people are 100% monitored. I think that lies get put out to try and differentiate and discourage, and to immediately, okay, that's a piece of disinformation that we put out. Like it stops that. It's interesting. The phenomenon itself is interesting. It also makes me wonder if there's multiple aspects, because if you're talking about the divine feminines coming back in a major way, then what's the masculine? What does that appear as?
Well, that's what.
Was there anything in between?
That's what we're in. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Well, interesting question, right? Like, what's the gradient like? What's that?
How many sides are there?
Yeah.
Yeah, and which ones are they really interested in? Yeah, that's.
And what's the differences between the matriarchy and a patriarchy? What's the difference between a masculine-led world and a feminine-led world? I mean, you have these old eras and these old ages who seem to be obsessed with spirituality and art and metaphor, right? And like in an amazing way. And you wonder, right, from our framework, in my mind, I'm like, how could they have accomplished anything? The scientific method invented or, was come up in the early 1600s or something like that. Like, what were they doing before? How'd they build a building? How'd they, do anything? How'd they make a fabric? Like, what were they doing if they didn't have this method? And we struggle, I think, to really understand what was happening. And then, I think maybe that feminine era, those feminine eras are more intuitional and less like destructive when it comes down to how they create stuff. But
I've long held a theory that I don't know that I've talked about it on here before. Maybe I have. That there is something genetic, there is something wired, right? There is, like, if consciousness is a quantum phenomenon, which is highly believed that it is.
Sure.
So whatever this genetic makeup is a tuning, like it's the receiver. Well, if your receiver's divined and designed and built just a little bit differently, it can pick up and talk to other things. Okay, so we have one, let's say it's the lady in white, the feminine. There has to be others. There has to be. So how many of them are there? Where are there? How many of them are there? And what purposes do they serve? If the feminine is for intuition and kindness and renaissance and, that, what are the other aspects? It almost harkens to me like the old stories of biblical angels that when you really read them, they were designed and built for purpose. They had a purpose. So it makes you wonder that if the people that are able to tune into these different frequencies have their own purpose. What is that purpose?
Well,
it's a good question.
This is exactly why I kind of get a little bit pissed off with the D, and not to go back on the Lou thing, but we've got nearly 500 people watching live now. And
check out Conspiracy Mothership. Buy our merch. We have some kick-ass T-shirts.
Yeah.
Subscribe to TUPACABRA.
Dude, they are good shirts.
Thanks, man. You know what they are? The quality. Me and my Friday night buddies who get together and hang out, I walked in one night and they all had Dave Squatch, which is an old design, because they thought it would be funny, and it was fucking hilarious. But they're really good quality shirts. Like they're good shirts.
Dude, that's awesome.
So that's my frustration with this, because nearly 500 people watching, but I bet you one of these, maybe a couple, maybe a handful, have seen a white lady. Don't call me a racist, whatever you do.
Cancelled.
But yeah,
so.
I bet you somebody's had that experience in the chat. Somebody's seen something that they cannot explain, and to them, it's insulting when you say everything you've seen is shit, it's bullshit, it's just down to memory, you know? Because I mean, my story too, but I can't remember seeing, so mine, I don't remember seeing a white lady. I used to go into my mum's room. My dad was in the Merchant Navy and he was away at sea. I used to go into a room, apparently when I was 5 or 4 years old, saying I'd seen a white lady in that room. My mum is R negative. My mum had a miscarriage. The night she had a miscarriage, she saw the white lady. She'd had 8 miscarriages before she calls me the miracle child. I have never seen or have any knowledge of seeing that white lady, but my mum told me, she tells me the story that I used to see this white lady as a child. And I believe it because she's not a bullshitter. So when you say
either that or Mrs. Ollie has a cracking sense of humor.
She is smoking hot.
Yeah, my
finding out a lot about Ollie today. I love this.
Yeah,
Ollie's mom. Whew, we'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, always with the mum jokes with me. Always.
Well, no, we go after the hands too. The hands are they're okay.
But yeah, I mean, that is my frustration with it. When people have had genuine experiences and you put it down to it's just memory, you were just a kid.
Oh,
you know, I think
it's so dismissive, dude, and it discourages conversation about it. It discourages people explaining, because everyone, when you really think about it, everyone's probably had an experience, something strange, right? And like it's been like, I think one of the best ways to describe it, because a lot of people who see something, they don't think that they passively saw something. Oh, they happen to be looking in the right place at the right time. A lot of people feel like they were shown something or even warned or given information. Hey, you're about to see something. Calm down. Like a lot of sightings include that. A lot of them do. And so, you know,
yeah,
I heard
mine, dude, mine. I felt an urge to look up.
See?
I agree 100% with my sighting.
Right?
Yeah.
Keemstar too. He said that he was on a school bus and he got the urge like something's going to be over here. Don't freak out. And then he looks and then he sees a silver like disc in the sky. It's like, okay, something's going on. So Jordan Peterson described this idea of like the narrative world and the objective world like actually touch. My set's falling apart. No, they touch, and that's a miracle. That's when you realize
behind you,
dude, for sure. Dude, my dog just like did the craziest stretch.
You're just gonna see Lou like come over.
The whole thing just falls over. I'm in Lou's house.
hey, now that would be a turn of events right there. Was there a moment where like,
that would be epic if he came out from behind you right now and just waved?
Wasn't there a moment where like everybody? Wasn't there a moment where like everybody thought Cahill and Elizondo were in the same house and like they seen Elizondo run down the hallway to go? To
they were.
Yeah.
They were in the same house. So they're on a show together. They're on a show.
Yeah.
It was Theories of Everything with Kurt Jamungle, and so they agreed that they would do this like thing together. You know what I mean? And they're in separate rooms, which is fine. Like no one would have cared that they were in the same house, but they were pretending that they weren't. And this is another interesting aspect. This is really when things turned for me and my view of Lou and Sean Cahill, which was that like they did this thing, and then you see Lou running in the background because like I gotta go pee real quick, and he runs away. And then Cahill's talking in one of the other windows, and you see Lou running in the back, and it's like, wait, what the hell?
Dude, he's
in the same
hauling
spot
too. He's hauling ass, bro. It's so funny.
Dude, so they get called out for that in the chat, and of course, it's like fucking. They don't like it. Lou's it seems Elizondo and Cahill are very much about presentation, very much about the perception, right? Their own perception, and like that was not chill. But also, what happened in that episode was, I guess Lou had said that he would have a beer. He would like to have a beer with Kurt Jamungle, the host. Or Kurt said the opposite. And so Lou, to accommodate this, is like sitting down and they're having like a noon or 1 p.m. interview or something. And like Lou's like, I got a beer, and holds up a beer bottle and, you know, sips it. And he's throughout the interview. And after like, I think someone was roasting his ass in the comments, and I think Lou was seeing it or something, because then he starts going like, you know, like in this, you guys got to handle your perception of stuff or whatever. And like he holds up the bottle and goes, this isn't even beer. This is apple juice. I just fill this with apple juice, you know, just to control your perception. It was the weirdest.
Very
Dude,
strange.
Like, you got us. Also, I'm pretty sure that's beer. I'm 100% on this. But whatever, dude. What a weird thing to do. It was so strange. And like, he felt like he took pride in being able to deceive and like deceive audience. And like, I like the guy. I made videos about the stuff he was saying, and I just felt like this guy might not have respect for us. You know what I mean? Like, he might not think the highest of what we're doing here as like citizens.
Didn't he? Wasn't there a direct quote where he said he wanted to destroy ufology?
That was actually a full-on article he wrote, and that was definitely the headline. He wants to destroy ufology, and I made a video about that and like responding to it. One of the few like live streams I did before Skyfire. You know what I mean? I did this video, and I was like, "That's bullshit." I called it out, and I was like, "I don't agree with this at all. I think it's crazy." And like, because he wanted to rebuild it in a better image, which I wonder if he's talking about his own image. You know, like I wonder, you know, and then this idea that like that it should be promoted, and all of a sudden all the disciples of Lou are like, this had to be said, and you're seeing it shared and retweeted. This article, it's like, tear down ufology. It's a bunch of religious fanatics and a bunch of crazy people. Let's rebuild something based on science. You're like, all right, but
which is essentially what Lou Reviews is doing now. He stripped the UFO thing out, but it's essentially the same message that he's trying to do.
Yeah, but what is he reviewing? You know,
he reviews me and he reviews my Discord all the time, which I think is pretty sick.
He should have gone with Lufology.
Lufology would have been.
That's a fire name, dude. Yeah,
that really involves some great creativity, though.
Somebody buy that.com. Go ahead and buy that space up.
Lufology.
Let's go beat it to it. Oh yeah.
He needs more than a name.
Think of the shirts.
I think that's the weird thing, isn't it? Like the whole thing where we refer to ourselves as creators when we do these things, but there's so many people that are involved in this that are creating nothing. Yeah. Like they're actively trying to destroy.
And the people they target is people who are making things.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's an inherent disdain that you can sense if you make a lot of stuff or whatever, or if you're good at, there's a disdain that you get from people who can't or don't choose not to do it. And it comes down to like if you're creating things, it's like a lifestyle choice at a certain point. You got to commit to it, especially as an adult. Like, how much time can you possibly commit to a craft? What are you getting out of it? Yes. And you know what I mean? You have to start making these decisions. Like, is it worth this time? Yada, yada. But like, for some people, you just can't stop doing it. And I have noticed like the harshest critiques come from people who tried and failed or never had the courage to try. You know what I mean? Don't understand that world. And I think that the same thing goes for a lot of other critics who do stuff, who critique this or that. Like I don't know a lot of music critics who are also masters at the violin or some other you know what I mean? It's like one or the other sometimes.
Yeah, people just don't see the behind the scenes. You do one show a week, but all week, every waking second that you get, you're on Twitter bookmarking, you're trying to put that together, and then you're spending your weekend putting your show together, and you're creating the thumbnails and you're editing. It's a whole thing, but you just see that. Yeah, you see the hour and a half, and you think, oh, this is the only time this guy spends on this. Yeah. It's like, go give it a shot, bro. Give it a chance. It's a lot of work, dude. If you care. Now, there's some people that just don't care and they hit stream and that's it. But sure. I mean, there's people who definitely put time into stuff for sure. Look at Skyfire.
Time.
Look what you guys have been doing, man. A lot of work.
Yeah, time and passion, man. And like and it comes out in this like ability to like self-reflect and self-improve. You know what I mean? And also like you're facing challenges all the time. Your own, you know what I mean? Like the technology, but then also the community, your fan base. That it becomes like a real thing, and then you have to navigate that too. And that's it's super fun. I mean, doing new things is important, and keeping sharp creatively is important. And then I think people do underestimate the work a show really is. Some of them, I guess, there's all varieties of shows, but the better the prep, right, the better the show. And like,
absolutely,
if you're dedicated to it, you're preparing for it, you're collecting articles, you're trying to thinking how would you articulate this in a thing, and then you got to watch it afterwards or think about it afterwards too.
I know,
and it's a whole deal. It's dedication. That's one of the reasons why I give like Lou Reviews his due. Although I give him shit, I'm critiquing, you know what I mean? Something that he did build, something that he did do. He put himself out there to be critiqued, and there's respect to be given there for that. You know what I mean? Because it is an art, but we'll see what happens. We'll see.
That's the thing. You hit the nail on the head there. There is respect to be given for what he's done. to an extent where he still does the issue is why try and destroy what other people are doing? That's what I don't get. And like when you brought Skyfire up there, I was going to say this early, but we pivoted away from it. And when you talk about pushback, and I've noticed like a lot of pushback from like parts of the UFO community on Skyfire, and I don't really understand it because I'm not just blowing smoke up you guys' ass, but it's like Skyfire is one of the only Twitter channels that I get notifications from, because the stuff that goes up is always cool. It's always like balanced. It's just different articles about shit I like, and I don't understand the pushback that came about a neutral platform that was literally just like a good aggregator of news about stuff that I like to read about.
I can explain it. I mean, I know it's a bias POV or whatever, but like the people who were our loudest critics were baiting on Red and I to fail. You know, Red and I were calling attention to an
Which
active
the
one who's working right now. Like
we've got red Panda Koala and red Panda Koala diet.
So,
yeah.
Yes.
What up?
There he is. There he is. But you know, like to Red's credit too, and what he was talking about earlier, it took a lot of dedication to be this annoying about this thing, you know, and that was like the weirdness of the community. And they came after us hard. They came after me hard. They really wanted to control the new voices that were coming in, especially voices that had the potential to get an audience. And then, you know, that's just what they were doing. And when Red and I kept, you know, not going away, and like our partnership with Keem, with Skyfire, was like a slap in their face. So a lot of people were betting on our downfall, and the hatred didn't come from the community in general. It came from the loudest voices of the few who think that they control and monitor stuff. And so we only get hate from, you know, from that group. But it has been effective with that culture, with UFO Twitter culture. It's very effective what these guys are doing. And because of that, we get blackballed or whatever from these different things. You know, like we get blocked by Gary Nolan. We get all of it. And it's just really funny. And but I think over time people will see like what we're doing with Skyfire is exactly what everyone asked us to do while we were being annoying about this active hate group that was harassing children and women. We were, you know, we're now focusing our attention on creative efforts to build up the world of ufology in a legitimate way, as creators and people who are independent, not as people who have access to this hero or that person or this, you know, source. And that's what we're doing. But I think it proves the integrity of their argument, which is nothing. We're damned if we do, damned if we don't, and that says everything. You know what I mean? So we just got to keep on grinding on it. And I'm glad to hear that, Lee, that it's like something that you put your notifications on. I mean, that's what we strive for. Like,
yeah. I mean, I use your bookmarks every week. Yeah.
Hell yeah. So does Lou, by the way. Every time he scrolls through his Twitter account on his channel, we're like, oh, there.
Which is interesting enough. Yeah, which is interesting enough. Right.
And we love that, though. I love that the whole community is able to like use that stuff. It's cool.
Amazing.
Becomes the psyop, right? No, but yeah, and our channel's down right now. I'm sure you guys have seen. We got hit with 3 false copyright strikes, so we're dealing with that. We're on Tupa's channel now for the time being, but yeah, I'm proud of it.
Oh, well, I've linked that in the description as well. So
hell yeah, thank you.
I've linked everything: Skyfire News, yours Red, and yours Tupa, along with both your personal Twitters.
Thank you,
and your home addresses. So
yeah, and Grandma's address.
Grandma's address, definitely Grandma. Who wants the cookies, right?
Yeah, and the grandma's house.
Oh yeah, yeah. We're keeping it alive.
Personal attacks on X. I think people just need to stop going for people's wives and things like that. Just leave it out. You know, go for the man or the woman. You know, that's doing the thing.
Even then, why? Why? It's just an idea.
It's crazy that we're to a point where all he has to say is right.
Yeah. Yes.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh well.
So that's one thing I do agree with 100%. You just it's fucking UFOs, people. Come on.
Right.
It's interesting. It's great, but it's not worth making somebody's life miserable.
Yeah, because what happens when they cross that one person? That one person's like, well, we're going to dox his family. And that guy's like, well, 5 combat tours in, I guess this is the one, huh? And
Well,
you're
do you
number
guys know about
26.
Chris Gray, right?
You know? No.
This was that dude who stabbed his dad 110 times, like
At least it
in
wasn't
2021 on UFO Twitter. Was kind of a thing. But they
That
actually
just
there
dives in. Most brutal fact about it. Check this out. Like I love it.
there was a concerted effort. But my point being is that we heard from multiple people, one of which is Deep Prasad, that this like weird takedown mechanism has been around for years. And Chris Gray was actually the king milk fart of yesteryear, back in the day. He's the one who was being fed info about people, harassing them, doxing their families. He ended up murdering his dad and sending it to a bunch of people on UFO Twitter. So that's what I talk about all the time too, because like people like Milk Fart are like unhinged lunatics, and they should not be being fed info about people's families.
That now.
But there's literally a point in history, and it's the same group. Multiple people have said who have been targeted by Chris Gray and Milk Fart said it's the same group. So it's like there's already been a history of this, and the worst part about that is people were doxxed and harassed for even talking about that, and this reached to the highest levels. Like everybody on the Jack Sarfati email chain got this video, and no one was supposed to talk about it because it would hurt disclosure. It's pretty wild.
When it would come up in spaces, I didn't know about it, and it would come up just every so often, and then everyone would be like, "Oh no, that's bullshit." People would be like, "Don't talk." Basically, hush, hush. You know. Yeah. But Red's totally right. Like this has gone too far before, and it's not like two separate groups. We're just looking at two separate arms of this other thing. That's like, hey, we're going to actively run psyops, and the things that he was that he confessed to doing, it lines up with what other people have said recently about the same kind of group, which is that they were asked to basically befriend people. You know what I mean? And then they grew to like them, but then once that person spoke out or got out of line, didn't fall in, then they just attack them. And then it's reported often. So these guys are made to make friends with people and then attack them, and it messes with people's heads. And not everybody can survive that.
I just feel like they're building assets. They're building assets, and the thing is, you select an asset because of a quality that you need. One, to be able to do this and operate in this field, to be able to do horrible things to other people, and honestly take some enjoyment. You're looking for a sadist. You're looking for someone who's unhinged, someone who's probably disassociated personality of some sort, greater or lesser. So yeah, of course they're going to stab someone. At some point, they're going to break and freak out, not necessarily because of this, but because it's going to happen any day. And you just have to find the replacement. Unfortunately, society and the world is what it is, generates a lot of those people. They're not difficult to find.
Yeah, there's no shortage.
No.
And think about it: if you had online algorithms that were profiling people's psychology based on baited questions and polls and baited, you know what I mean? You'd find them so easy. Everyone's checking boxes off. You just need to run an algorithm and then be like find the people who are most at risk or most high potential to take influence or be extremists or whatever.
I mean they can cross-reference your credit card purchases with your Pornhub search history, with your chat logs that you keep private. They have access to everything. They can figure out, well, this is the right guy based on this profile.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
I was told by government workers in my state that the only way certain information could have been been available was through either an FBI investigation or hacking into their system, which was a government-ran system, which I doubt that took place. So it's an interesting thing.
CIA, NSA have backdoors into absolutely everything.
Yep.
And so does Mossad, because they build all our software for all that stuff too. Just saying.
That's a dangerous topic. At a certain point, all the intelligence agencies are the same agency.
I agree.
Yeah, they're just one. Like Black Cube. You guys familiar with Black Cube? All former Mossad does corrective actions through social media and in real life if needed. All former Mossad. Big CIA contracts. They were the ones that kept Harvey Weinstein's nose and everything's clean for so long until it just avalanched because it was too much. They were the ones who had the contract running. And like one of the ones that run, and I have no problem saying that I guarantee will be operating somewhere here, are contractors through Booz Allen Hamilton. And if you don't know who they are, you should.
Now they're coming after you. You're taking the heat off me, Dave. I love it.
I am genuinely not worried. Genuinely. It's that's just it. They move big pieces.
They do. They do.
But the important thing is they can only move pieces that can be moved. Pieces that they can reach. If you just ignore them and go away, there's very little they can truly do.
You ever wonder if these the things that they're citing and the way that they plan their moves, right? The movers and shakers of this world, they're probably using AI to run large numbers and large like models on
100%.
I would assume, yeah.
What would you say their predictive power is at this point?
I would say it's probably 80+% accuracy rate.
Probably real good.
And they can also influence people, so they can increase the potential for their guests to go a certain way. So there's this weird thing now. It's almost like it reminds me of, I don't know why, but the Tenant, the time pincer move, the temporal pincer move, where like if you want a goal, you can predict it, but then you can also drop all these different influences in to encourage it to happen.
Yeah.
And so you really kind of there's
AI is just the biggest wrench in the machine for the whole UFO community, is it not? It's a giant wrench, man. It just changes everything. ChatGPT, quantum computing, give that stuff 1,000 years. I mean, where does it go? I mean, Rogan's definitely right on track, I think, with that. It's crazy to think how that's changed. You know, it's, for me, AI is probably the number one of like what I think the phenomenon may be. Probably my number one spot right now. ET's probably third. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say it. Like what we're doing right now puts the intelligence agencies out of commission. They have to infiltrate. Now, why they're expending so many resources and influence into the UFO/alien conversation is baffling to me, because they sure as don't give a fuck about cryptozoology or conspiracies overall, right? Like so they feel they either have a control on that or they don't need to because it's whatever. Now, conspiracies in general, you'd think they would, but there's really only so many loud voices, and I think that those are probably easier to lever. But for some reason, there is a fascination or fixation on this topic, and it's bizarre to me. But to speak to who they can and can't influence, did you guys ever see an old sci-fi TV show from like 97 or 98 to 2001? It was based, I think it was a Canadian. It's called First Wave.
No.
It had to do with the writings of Nostradamus, and that Nostradamus's true writings were actually thrown out of order for a reason, and they were predicting the coming of an alien invasion.
Oh, I love
and
this.
The alien invasion, they were running psychological ops on people to determine every personality type. They wanted to know when they invaded what they would be up against. And they realized that there's 117 different profiles. And all 117, the goal of the 117 was to get people to self-delete. They would do different things to their life to the breaking point. And they found of all of those, out of 117 different candidates, one candidate wouldn't. They wouldn't. No matter what you did to their reality, they wouldn't do it. In fact, they would fight back. And it was a very interesting thing, like if you look back at predictive programming, because one of the things I know now in PsyOps, intelligence agencies, and assets they turn, there's a certain personality types they have identified that they avoid because they get radicalized in a way that is uncontrollable to them. You know, they're the impassioned. They're your Martin Luther King. They're your whoever. Like they're just, nope, I'm going to stick it to you. I'm going to get as loud as possible. I don't care what you do. This is never going to, they are an unhinged person with leadership quality and charisma, right? But they're only unhinged against like authoritarian regimes. So
that's a great point. I feel bad for a lot of these little attack dogs and little assets, right? Even though they're the worst people. I don't think Chris Gray would have murdered his family, honestly, if he wasn't being whipped up to do all these weird things. I think Milk Fart would be a lot happier if he wasn't being given attaboys by like Lou Elizondo and Sean Cahill when he does these. Like, it's not a good state to be in, right? I feel like his soul has to just be so darkened from what it was a few years ago when he wasn't engaging in this behavior. And it's sad. He's a victim, in my opinion, as crazy as it sounds.
I agree with you.
Well, Rick Doty, he said, I didn't mean to do anything. I just had a job to do.
Dirty Doty.
Yeah, I had a job to do.
That's how they view it. That is the disassociative, high functioning sociopath that you want, like Lou Elizondo, right? He's doing a job. Well, what did you do, Lou? You know, guys with knuckles like that build, your profile.
Yeah.
You weren't admin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what did you do? I did my job. That's a dangerous man, because that man will do whatever he has to with God and country on his side, and he will be right.
What do they call it? Like the Myers experiment or whatever? where they put the lab coat on and they ask a guy,
Yes.
you know, like
Shock.
shock this guy, and then this
Yeah.
much is lethal, but do that. And then because a guy in a lab coat's asking, it's like, okay.
The guy's screaming.
Dude, Doty, when he explains that was his job, he sometimes follows it up with and I got an award for it. He got a certificate. Like, he did his job so well, he was actually commended. And he's like, yeah, like I did it. I was really good. Like, it's like, okay, I don't think you don't get the point here, but it's
yeah. I mean, that's in his mind. I did my job. I did my duty.
Yeah.
You know, there's the intelligence community recruits from certain religious groups. One, it makes them easy. Oh yeah. It makes it easier to pass background checks, but it also, that type of upbringing breeds a fanaticism.
very loyal.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
loyal.
Yeah. And so long as you can keep them on that track, they'll do whatever you tell them to do.
Kimball knows who we're talking about.
I feel like they moved all the UFO stuff there.
Oh,
All the Area 51 stuff is apparently at Dugway Proving Ground in Utah now.
Utah, that's an interesting call.
Yeah, all this weird stuff.
Weird.
Uh-oh.
What's that, Koala? You saying the Area 50? You broke up a little bit there. The Area 51 stuff's all in
out in Dugway Proving Ground in Utah.
Right.
Well, they also have chemical weapons and nuclear leftovers buried under the ground. Like, that's not somewhere you want to go driving around.
No.
Didn't they say
they call them
last year
skinwalkers now?
Yeah. Didn't they say all the Area 51 was going to, a lot of the files were going to release this year?
Oh, they're just like the JFK files. It's like that's
they
never
will.
happening.
Yeah.
That's catastrophic disclosure, dude.
I
George Bush
think-
shot JFK. It's crazy.
Yeah. Dude, people are so deluded that it's sad to see that the misinformation is set in so deep that they're like, the Department of Defense and the Air Force know what's going on. They do not, because they do not have labs. They do not have scientists. They have analytic teams. They're sure orders. But the thing is, Commander-in-Chief can come in and he can demand. Congress can come in and get oversight. There's other agencies that can tell anyone to go away because they've been granted amnesty. Like, I wouldn't know, the Department of Energy.
Yeah,
that funds 85% of the physical sciences everywhere. Everywhere.
They own the Area 51 land, don't they?
Yes.
I bet they do.
No,
Just a reminder for the audience: if you develop an engine that runs on water, don't say anything.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Just save gas on your own, and then just
yeah. I may or may not have met the guy that'll knock on your door.
Yeah.
It's like the Department of Energy is a scary thing. Did you know the Department of Energy has its own armed paramilitary branch that is exempt from basically everything when they're on duty? It's allegedly to transport nuclear materials, but they do other things.
Doesn't sound great.
No, not only that, all allied nations have to allow them to operate without question. They cannot be stopped. They cannot be checked.
That's the crash retrieval crew, as far as I'm concerned. As far as
I thought they're the nuclear material expert for, like, you know, they're the security team. No, what do they have in there? No, it's nuclear security and materials. Is it? How do they get this through?
Just all coke. They're just doing Contra too.
That would definitely be who I would use to move things around, because again,
isn't
no
that
one's
what
gonna
Herrera
stop and
says
check.
too? That's like a narrative now, like not even a joke, right? That like the CIA and deep state are using like Tic Tac technology to traffic drugs in people. It's wild that that's part of the conversation now, but I wouldn't
surprise me though. I mean, it sounds like a good idea if they were going to do that. Yeah,
A lot of money on that.
The Tic Tac did behave erratically. It would make sense if it was filled with cocaine.
Coke.
It would make sense. It was darting back and forth, dude.
That pattern doesn't make any sense. Well, his face is numb, so
to be fair as well.
Yeah,
like,
they pull him out. His nose is all covered. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Given the shape of the Tic Tac as well, it definitely looks like something you could plug if you had to.
It does. It does. They're looking for those at the airport, dude. They find those all the time.
yeah, that's another thing. So, Department of Energy has access to all military airports, right? Like on bases, not be stopped, not be checked. They're not even to be questioned. Their own vehicles cannot be stopped while going down the road. They have their own trains. They're monitored over U.S. soil with active and armed drones.
Dear Lord.
This is why it was such a big deal to have Arrow, whether or not Arrow could get behind it. Kirkpatrick could get into the DOE. That's why it was such a big deal. That Title 50.
Yeah, nobody's getting into the DOE. Nobody's getting into the DOE. The things
even if he got there, he couldn't say anything anyway. There's no way he could, even if he could get behind the door.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and not only that, like, so the Department of Energy runs the U.S. labs for those of us who are Americans, like the national labs. There's several, I think there's 9 total that they'll admit to. And on those properties, they do nuclear research, they do advanced testing. I mean, they do exactly what the Department of Energy does, like future reactors, all those kinds of things. But all those buildings are also rented out by other contracting agencies, and they can do it there safely and securely and never have to answer to anyone. Because Lockheed Martin, you have to show us your stuff. I can't. Why? Because it's in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, next to the K-35 site, and no one here has clearance to go out there and check it. Well, we want you to go get it. Can't do that. Doesn't have clearance to move it out of the building. That's an entirely paper process. Like, they can hide behind so much red tape and legalities, and the penalties are so severe. That's why you don't hear anyone asking those questions. Who's funding all these sciences? It's the Department of Energy.
Is that where we'd find Thomas Townsend Brown's work? You know,
maybe it makes sense.
Dude, I think these guys cracked the time machine a long time ago, and they just have this like military force that just goes out there and cleans up new things landing because they opened up some portals. Something's going on, dude. Like,
or maybe
well
they just
informed.
found old technology underground, and they're needing.
No, I'm well informed from a 30-second TikTok that Donald Trump's father had the time machine, and Donald Trump brought him back in time.
Yeah, I believe that.
It's almost like this is why these conversations are important to have and not try to silence them, because we don't really know, right? We're speculating.
Yes,
it's almost like that, right?
Yeah. We're just putting stuff together.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, whatever it is, the disagreements that we may have, something's fucking going on.
For sure, 100%.
And what the big thing to take away from this as well is, as Dave said before, like what's going on within like the community doesn't seem to happen in any other sort of conspiracy theory corner apart from ufology at the minute. So that shows there's some validity to what's going on. You know, it's the crazy enough is like Lou Review being psyoped within a fucking inch of his life and then going nuclear on everyone is probably the biggest proof we need to keep looking into it.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All these weird data collection, targeted weird Scientology like harassment, like they're trying to control the narrative or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. You don't do this for fun.
No.
Nope. Nope. It's
I
way
think
too
I
organized.
think if you don't do this for fun, there's something wrong with you.
Okay, that's
oh
a good
no,
point.
sorry, I don't mean like what
That's a
we're
good point.
doing.
That's a good
I mean
point.
the psyop part. They don't do psyops for fun.
No.
Or
probably
for
not.
free, dude. There's what Red has, like, seeing some of this stuff, dude, and discovering it with Red and being like blown away and like seeing like how deep it really got for these people. Like how big is this? How big is it? Because at first, you know, you're like, okay, it must just be some other thing. It's not related to the UFO topic at all. It's not related to disclosure. It's this other thing. But the resources poured into just this little aspect of it is too vast. It's just too vast to think that I rubbed this many people the wrong way and motivated them. No, absolutely not. Like I have nothing. I came from nothing. Like, you know what I mean? It's not like I have, you know, like I'm from like Fox News or The Blaze or something. Nothing. That makes no sense what's going on. And to see how much effort was put into it, and as we discover more and more about how much effort's put into all of this stuff, in terms of trying to distract, discredit, defame, slander, and manicure a community, you know, for something, you know, it's upsetting because of how real it is. It's upsetting because of how much proof there is of it. And when you talk about it, it's like, it's the only thing that can get rid of it. It's the only thing is like call attention to it, put some sunlight on it, call it out for what it is, and hope that people don't want to be led down that direction. And, but it's crazy. Look into the resources. I mean, how many sock puppet accounts, how many fake followers, how much time, how many posts, how many, you know, per hour, per day, per week.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think when I first started hearing it, I think I was like probably a good example of thinking, oh, this is just drama. Why aren't we talking about UFOs? But over time, especially the last couple of months, this is starting to kind of break. and you go, oh wait, no, they're working this out, and if they shut up now, they won't work it out. So you have to give you guys your room to kind of have these conversations. So you have to figure it out. Covering up, I agree with you, Tupa, and ignoring it sucks, bro. But it won't go away that way. It won't.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, and it's inconvenient too. So people just don't want to talk about it.
It's inconvenient.
Because it's people are convinced that it's going to slow down disclosure. But what they really have to ask themselves is, what is it worth? What is it worth? Like, it cannot come at the cost of humanity or your own humanity to like get a secret or to confirm your belief that it's an alien or that the government's doing this or that. It just can't be worth it. You can't lose yourself in the process of trying to the fruit that it bears will be awful. And you know what I mean? And I'm no purist, I'm no saint, I'm no hero.
I know what you mean though, yeah.
You know what I mean? But like you have to know, like, if there's new stuff coming out from scientists or whatever, you kind of want to make sure that they got their head on straight before you buy all in on what's happening. And yeah, there's just some.
We're all UFO nerds. We love this subject, especially me. I do a bunch of history stuff, and just the idea of like quote unquote disclosure being wrapped in this weird, disgusting stuff. Like how I said, like it reaches to the top. We just had Sean Cahill saying he's looking at our router stuff that me and Tupa have been saying people have been doing, and people called us crazy for. It's just a shame to see it all wrapped in this. Like, imagine if J. Allen Hynek, if you learned he had a group of little incels that were going around harassing citizens, and it would just tarnish a lot of it. What was I going to say? There was something else I was going to say. Oh, can't think of it.
Well, no, I'm in a complete agreement with you, Red. I mean, the community is totally, it's turning on itself. And I just think that is by design. And some of these old timers would probably turn in their grave to know that the work that they did is all being torn apart by the people essentially who we've not trusted for all this time.
Well, there's a lot of anger though too. A lot of from the side of Arrow and everything that the DoD is doing. They just keep kind of like, I don't agree with a lot of it what they're saying, but if you want to say it this way, they're getting W after W after W, and the other side is just being quiet and they're not hitting back enough. And so you get some people that are just frustrated because they feel like the topic is slipping away and disclosure is slipping away. And so if you don't have that kind of balance that's going on, then people will turn to each other and take that anger out on each other. Because, you know, Mellon will release a text message about a crash retrieval program, supposedly, but there's not really much else to it. So it's kind of a debate, and it's not really taking you anywhere. And these are all like these little attempts to kind of push back against the DoD, push back against Arrow, and they're not really satisfying, right? Or Jason Sands comes out, and people aren't really sold on that situation, so they're still kind of angry, and that causes more issues because it doesn't prove what they want. And so they kind of turn in on each other, if that makes sense.
No, that's a great point, and people weaponize that. That's why you hear Sean Cahill call people enemies of disclosure.
Yes.
They weaponize that, the fact that people aren't allowed to talk about their experiences, and they point it at people. And now John Greenwald, just because he releases FOIA documents, he's preventing you from having disclosure. Me and Tupa talking about this weird harassment, we're preventing people from having disclosure, and it's pretty crazy.
Yep. I've seen it happen so many times, being labeled as an enemy of disclosure from someone who you know what I mean, assign themselves a role to the authority of it. It's crazy.
Has it ever felt this close though? I think so much of that is also this since 2017, disclosure's never felt so close and real. And I think that a lot of people just get scared that it's going to slip away, dude. And anybody
that says everything.
It up. Yeah,
that says everything.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a naysayer, but if this disclosure was real, it wouldn't hinge on these little things.
Oh, agreed, 100%.
I think the reason why people feel that we could lose it at any moment is because what's been presented so far is not substantial. Something, what's been presented a lot is mythical little seeds that allow us to build a myth in our mind about what, it's a lot of inferring, a lot of implying, and we're left to fill it in with our own imagination. Some people's imagination is being weaponized, and that's a big issue, right? Because now you just have a group of people who are willing and ready for this thing that's just about to happen. They're being told about things like Kona Blue ahead of time. They're being told about the spheres ahead of time, and they think they're gonna be part of the crew who gets to say, I told you so. And they're obsessed with being in that position, the I told you so position. Lose in the same position, but just on the opposite end, right? The I told you so. But I think that the fear that we could lose it, or the fear that the momentum could be gone because of a congressman or a Twitter account or whatever, it illustrates the fragility of it, because we are not given enough. There's not enough meat on the bones yet. A lot of it's belief, and we need to face that.
Yeah. I mean, Lou just seems like the type of guy that, you know, you get a zombie apocalypse and he's handing them out Expa cream and fucking iron deficiency tablets. You know, he's got all the excuses just lined up for whatever this thing is that comes out. He's gonna be the naysayer.
Yeah. Let's be fucking honest. If there's a zombie apocalypse, he's out day one, first hour. He's not lasting. But,
he's so Ashton, lol.
What we were talking about on Friday, though we brought sort of disclosure up. What do you guys think is necessary? Because it seems now like we're in a world of like AI imaging and stuff like that, so we can't trust photographs, we can't trust government disclosure. I don't know where we go to get like this definite, all-encompassing, like, right, we've got it.
I think we have to compile the history. I think we have to accurately look at like what it is we do know, and I think we need to talk to experiencers and people who don't hold any authority in this. There's enough people who've seen something. There's enough people who know things. There's enough people who experience stuff daily, and there's enough history out there to really lay out, and then just start to build our own idea, our own outline of what this stuff is, and stop suckling at the teat from the same people who held the answers from us, from the same people who are poised to lose everything if this information comes out, or could gain everything, for a long time if it comes out the way they want it. So we should stop asking, for disclosure, in my opinion, and we should start to gather the evidence we have already, go through it all as a community, build a good outline of what we think this is, and start to shade in the dark and light spots so we can figure out what it is we're looking at. Because honestly, it's the questions we've been fed that are preventing us from getting the answers we actually need. We're asking the same questions over and over and over again, and we're expecting the story to change from the government, which it's not gonna, at all. So we should start to just work on new questions, and we have to talk to each other for that, because the people who expect us to go to them for answers, they're fucking us over more than we could ever fuck ourselves over. You know what I mean? They don't care about us. Not at all. We got to figure out what it means to us, and then start asking the right questions of these people to get the right answers, I think.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah.
I'll drink to
it's interesting, yeah.
It's a shame it's water.
It's apple juice.
Dr. B, it's apple juice. You guys thought I was drunk at 11 a.m.? Yes.
100% sober.
Guys, I got to catch Dune with my daughter. It's time. It's movie night.
Oh.
So much appreciated. This was an awesome conversation.
Yes,
I'll be back anytime.
Yeah, bro. Appreciate you.
Yep. Till next time, guys.
Yeah, see you, man.
Yeah, and sorry, Terrestrial. I think we still have to do one on your show, right? But maybe next week or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. We'll DM about it. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
Sick.
Well, yeah, fun times,
Thanks,
everyone.
boys.
Good to see you guys.
See you too. See you, boys.
That's been fun.
That was fun. It's a good conversation.
And we've got nearly 600 people watching now. So whatever platform you're watching on, make sure you
do the like thing, do the retweet
like, share,
thing.
subscribe, tell them about Conspiracy Mother, where we talk about all the things that would get this channel shut down immediately from everywhere else.
Yeah. You can also find all the Alien Addict shows on the Alien Addict podcast. So you need to search for Alien Addict and Conspiracy Mothership to get all of the stuff on audio.
That's right. Buy our shirts. Buy some shirts. This is our grift. Okay. Grift us your money. Or just send us crypto. That's cool too. Whatever.
And Matt, where can they find you, mate?
Right here, YouTube, Terrestrial Material. That's really easy to find. And then the @Terrestrial MAT is Twitter. Follow along there.
Yeah, you can usually find them in loose crosshairs.
Yeah,
that's true too. That's true too. You might find me anonymously listening in some spaces now. I might have learned my lesson there.
We did get a message from Lou.
Tell us to fuck off, eat shit and die.
He just said that basically he'll be waiting in the space for us. But yeah, I've got work tomorrow, Lou. You know,
I feel like he's gonna be waiting for a fucking while then.
Yeah.
So
I really I've tried those in spaces. I hate them. I think they're like, as far as communicating with people goes, they're one above text message. It's like it's the worst form of communication that involves voice.
However, we hear you, and we're talking about doing spaces.
Yeah,
we are talking
maybe.
about spaces.
They're fucking horrible.
No, what it is we'll host it, talk shit to everyone, and let no one have a chance to talk. They'll just rage listen.
No, it's been interesting, and I think we've got a lot of content coming. We've got a lot of people that are going to piss you off. Some you're going to love, some you're going to hate. But yeah, stay tuned to Alien Addict and make sure if you want to really go out there, head on over to Conspiracy Mothership. And yeah, do us a favor, whatever platform you're on, hit that thumb,
whatever
share
the
it out.
Is.
Share it out.
Yeah. And you can hit it with whatever you'd like.
Yeah, pants are optional, right?
Yeah, yeah. Press away with whatever you feel does the job.
Yeah.
On that note, take us out, Lou.
Who have I harmed?
Dude, in the intelligence community.
Who have I harmed?
That's
brother?
the problem.
Who have I harmed? Just having a good time talking about a topic that I like.
Well, you don't know the harm you do, but I'm telling you, buddy.
I mean, you supposedly do, so why don't you tell me who I've harmed, Lou? You're just being angry at somebody you don't even know, bro. You're not even mad at me. You're not even mad at me, though, bro. You're really not. You're really not mad at me.
You are endorsing right-wing ideology and conspiracy things.
I've never brought politics into anything.
You are not going to make money on this like you think you are, team. I don't give a shit what the engagement is that you're getting. You're not going to make millions.
It's a good thing I've already made millions, so I don't have to really worry about it too much.
I mean, I go on there and I talk about UFOs and I have a lot of fun, brother.
Fuck
I mean, what's the problem with
That's not
about
good enough.
That intro is fucking art.
Yeah, I think it's weird that Techno Viking went through incredibly elaborate steps to have people leave him alone and stop using it. And here we are.
I'm so hungry. I can't lie. I'm going to get hangry.
You won't like me when you're hangry.